Galimera, Galimera, Galimera. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And it is Monday morning. We slowly count down this week until the opening of Magdalena's this Saturday night coming. So I'm going to be really kind of try and be brief this morning with today's broadcast, simply because there's a lot happening today and there's stuff I've got to do. And basically, I haven't got a lot of time. So anyway, just quickly, this is the weather this morning. Can I say thank you to Amanda for the weather forecast? She says, morning, Ginge. Monday's weather, sun, lotion at the ready. It's going to be sunny and warm, very warm. Highs of 27 will feel like 32. Enjoy the day. And I've got to be honest, yesterday, Jane and I, we were down on the beach yesterday and it was absolutely glorious. It really was. I actually got my feet sunburned a bit yesterday with the sun. So again, lovely day. Right. Okay. Just to let you know that today we've got two arrivals. We have one flight from Amsterdam. And we also have one flight from Zurich as well. That is the Swiss arriving and some more Dutch arriving this morning. And obviously there'll be a few going home as well, I would think, after having a lovely holiday. Right, COVID in the last 24 hours, things are starting to look up in that direction. There were only 877 new infections recorded across Greece yesterday. That was down from the 2,505 on the day before. There were 6 new cases identified at checks into the country. That number is actually the same as the day before, where again it was 6. Now, according to the national stats yesterday, new cases on Macardo was 0. There was only 1 case recorded on Catalonia. There were 13 new cases on Corfu, so even their number is down a bit. Cases on Zakynthos on the national stats was 0. And a nice little story in the local press this morning. They're reporting that the number of coronavirus cases in Zakynthos reached the number 30 after the last incident, which was last recorded on Friday. Now, I've got to be honest, my stats say 32, but I'm not going to quibble. When you look at the fact that over the past month here, Zakynthos on my stats has had 32. According to the local press, they've had 30. However, in the month of April, we had 177. In the month of March, we had 184. In the month of February, we had 70 cases. And in January, we had 30 cases. So you can obviously see that our infection rate is now really starting to drop down. So we're level with the rate that we had for January, which is, I think, a positive. When it comes to deaths across Greece at the moment, they're just up ever so slightly. Last time I reported to you 37 new deaths across the country. Well, today report there was 38 new deaths across the country. Our condolences to those families that are affected. But just to remind you that that takes the death toll since the pandemic started to 11,772. All right. Again, 96.4% of those people had underlying health problems or were over the ages of 70. When it comes to critical cases at the moment, they're also down, and there's been quite a drop in critical cases. Last time I reported to you 586 critical cases across the country in ICUs. That number has now dropped down to 569 critical cases. 351 of those are male and 218 of those are female. So again, that is a good positive. Now, interestingly, this ties in quite nicely with one of the major stories at the moment that is in the press. Greek Prime Minister Mitsotakis and his top aides have made it their top priority to ensure that this year's tourist season does not resemble the disastrous one of last year, despite the fact that the coronavirus pandemic is still going on. Now, officials believe arrivals will rise significantly at the end of June and will stay at high levels. The biggest obstacle to this optimistic scenario is the approach of countries such as the UK and Russia, both very important sources of visitors for Greece, which, based on what they deem as still a high viral load in Greece, and they have placed restrictions on their citizens travelling to the country. Now, anyway, Greece's argument is that the country's epidemiology situation is not best reflected in the number of new confirmed coronavirus cases, but in the millions of self-tests and the tens of thousands of molecular tests that are administered each week. Now, the intense effort of Greek officials' aim now is to have those countries relax their restrictions, notably requirements for their residents to quarantine upon their return by the end of June. Now, concerning the UK, Tourism Minister Kyriakis Theriakis has already visited and is to be followed by the Minister of State, George Gerapatis, who will be visiting the UK. Now, based on Greece's case incident, the country is in amber list according to the UK's traffic light system, meaning that UK citizens travelling to Greece must quarantine for 10 days upon their return and produce 2 negative coronavirus tests. Now, the Greek government is trying to convince the UK, trying to convince its UK counterpart not to treat Greece as a single entity, but to divide it into zones according to the existing viral load. Now, this was done last year. If you remember, we were placed into a position within the country where we had our tourism seriously affected because we were seen as a kind of a dangerous place to come as far as coronavirus was concerned, where the likes of Kefalonia, they just continued on as if nothing happened. And the reason for that was because we were placed into that position because we have the reputation of being a bit of a party island in the same way that Mykonos and Santorini were. So as far as I'm concerned, if you want to start placing zones around, please do not penalise us because we have a party area, and then all the restrictions and all the problems that we had with that from last year, we don't want a repeat performance of that. One, the restrictions that were placed on people having their holidays and everything else, with curfews and everything else, while next door in Kefalonia, they just sailed on as if nothing was wrong. And the reason we were tarred with that brush was because of the excessive viral loads in Santorini and also in Mykonos. And because we had the reputation of a party island, we were automatically dropped into that because of those two islands, even though at the time we had hardly any infection whatsoever. So again, let's see if this is going to happen. Anyway, they've also said this is not far-reached or far-fetched, as such an arrangement had been reached in 2020. Greece thus hopes UK tourists travelling directly to Greek islands, where the numbers of new infections are low, will be exempt from quarantine. Anyway, the similar is going on behind the scenes. There are talks underway with Russia. According to sources, Professor Stratis Doradis, head of the Greek Commission on the coronavirus, met again last week with his Russian counterpart, Anna Popfler, who is both the chief state sanitary physician of the Russian Federation and the head of the Rosprenadzor Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights and Protection and Human Well-being. And Russia does not order its citizens to quarantine, but refuses to increase the number of flights to and from Greece. So anyway, positive news for the Monday morning. The Greek government now is just desperately trying now to basically get the British here. Hopefully, if the zoning thing works, Zakynthos at the moment should be in the green. At the moment, unnecessary travel, that wording from the FDO. Again, we shall wait and see what transpires during the week. Anyway, interestingly, a message again that came into the Greek press again yesterday. A study by Public Health UK has found that after 2 doses of either either the Pfizer, BioNTech or the AstraZeneca vaccines, patients gain a very high level of protection against the Indian variant. However, 3 weeks after the first dose of either the vaccine, protection only rises to around 33%, confirming it is now essential to receive both doses. So just a little bit of a side information there for you. Now, the big story at the moment in Greece, and I think across the world at the moment, and definitely across Europe, is that the Ryanair Athens-Vilnius flight, which was diverted to Belarus on its final destination late Sunday without some of its passengers, finally arrived late last night. It must be reminded that Roman Petrovic was arrested on Sunday after the flight in which he was travelling on was diverted to Belarus, allegedly after a bomb threat had been given to the crew of the aircraft. Now, basically, Western officials denounced this as basically official hijacking by the Belarus government. Now, Petrovic faces charges that could bring 15 years in prison. A passenger who was on board said that after the plane arrived in Vilnius, following several hours in the Belarus capital, he said, "I saw this guy, a Belarusian guy with his girlfriend sitting right behind us. He freaked out when the pilot said that the plane was diverting to Minsk. He said there's a death penalty awaiting me there. We sat for an hour after the landing. Then they started releasing passengers and took those two away. We did not see them again," the man said. Passengers were taken off the plane in Minsk after the plane arrived in Vilnius. Defense Minister Andras Anakas said Petrovic's girlfriend and 4 other people did not reboard the aircraft. We will find out who are the other 4 that did not travel with the rest. Lithuania has launched an investigation to find out what really happened on that plane, he said on a Facebook page. Anyway, flight tracker sites indicated that the plane was about 10 kilometers or 6 miles from the Lithuanian border when it was diverted. There were conflicting accounts of the move. The press service of Belarus, President Alexander Lukashenko, said the president himself ordered that a MiG-29 fighter jet accompany the airliner after he was informed of the bomb threat. Now, the Deputy Air Force Commander Andrei Guchvich said the plane's crew made the decision to land in Minsk. But Ryanair said in a statement that Belarus air traffic control instructed the plane to divert to the capital. Anyway, Lithuanian President Gitanas Nausėda called the incident a state of sponsored terror act. He said that the European Council would discuss the case on Monday and that he would propose banning Belarus planes from the European Union airports and serious sanctions against Lukashenko's government. The Belarus airspace is completely unsafe for any commercial flight, and it should be deemed it's not only the EU but by the international community. Because now this instrument could be used for any plane crossing the Belarusian airspace, it is now obviously a serious concern. Petrovic is the co-founder of Telegram. Now, that was a messaging app on the Nexta channel, which Belarus last year declared as extremist after it was used to help organize major protests against Lukashenko, the president. The protests have dwindled in recent months, but the Belarus authorities are continuing to crack down on opposition, on opposition parties, and obviously arresting them. Now, the Belarus President Press Service said the bomb threat was received while the plane was over Belarus territory. Officials later said no explosives were found on board. The exiled opposition leader, Salavan Tiskalanka, I think that's how you say it, called on the international citizen Civil Aviation Organization to begin an investigation. It's absolutely obvious that this is an operation by special services to hijack an aircraft in order to detain activists and the blogger Raman Pratsevich. She said this is not a single person who flies over Belarus can be sure of their safety. Now later the ICAO said it is strongly concerned by the apparent forced landing. The Belarus authorities said there were 123 passengers on the plane, but Landis Burgis, the Lithuanian foreign minister, said that there were 171. Now Western countries have also expressed alarm. Obviously the Greek Prime Minister, Mr. Mitsotakis, tweeted the forced landing of a commercial plane to detain a journalist is an unprecedented, shocking act. We demand all passengers immediately be released. And on Monday, ECU, the EUCO must address the need to step up pressure on Belarus. Enough is enough. Greece's foreign ministry also denounced what it is called as state hijacking. He said, we condemn the illegal arrest of the Belarusian activist Roman Protasevich, who is threatened with the death penalty. Mr. Protasevich was part of a delegation led by the Belarusian opposition leader, Svetlana Tarasenko, who recently attended the Delphi Forum. We believe that similar practices which hark back to other times which are not appropriate for any civilized state should not go unanswered, the Greek ministry later said. Belarus showed again its contempt for the international community and its citizens. The US Ambassador Julie Fisher said, calling the event dangerous and adherent. Just to put it into context, there's been months of protests that erupted in Belarus after last August's presidential elections that official results said gave Shalemenko a sixth term in office, and also the conduct of that election was also called into question. Anyway, Lithuanian police cracked down on protesters harshly, detaining around 30,000 people and beating many of them. Although protests died down during the winter, Belarus has continued to take action against opposition and independent news media. And last week, 11 members of the Tuti by News website were detained by police. So that is the big story at the moment. We shall wait and see what happens. Anyway, I don't have any and finally story, simply because I'm really against the clock today with things that I've got to organise and sort out and do. But just quickly, a quick shout out to those people who are tuning in at the moment. Melissa Vickers is tuning in. Nice to have you. You're a new name. I don't recognise your name, Melissa. Linda Jane Barker is watching as well. Peter Atkins says, morning, Ginge. Fingers crossed for Friday. Yeah, fingers crossed. Are you hopefully getting here on Friday? That is the question. Graham Brint over there in Australia, he's also tuning in as well. Nice to see you looking in as well, buddy. And for some reason, my tablet now decides that it wants to freeze up and not scroll. Once again, we're going to be looking in interest to see what's happening this week in the term of what English flights arrive. We do supposedly have a flight on Wednesday, a UK flight, and we're all still waiting to see if that flight is actually going to turn up. I have been getting people sending me messages saying that they're still receiving information that they're having their flights cancelled at the moment. Anyway, Steve Hinkland says, Galimera, sunny this morning here, but not expecting it to last. Enjoy your day. Thank you for that. Jerry Coyle is watching as well. Nice to have you looking in. Dave Camp says, morning, buddy. Thank you for today's interesting update. Much appreciated. Thank you for that, Bella. Wendy Norcliffe is also watching as well. Margaret Miller is watching. Julianne is watching. John Bailey is watching. Martin Holsworth, Marty the Mod. Nice to see you looking in. I hope you enjoyed the Northern Soul show yesterday. At some point today, I will get... oh, yeah, that's a point. The show is being rebroadcast today on beatsradio.co.uk. I think at about 7 o'clock tonight, it's being rebroadcast after the 80s drive. So, Marty, you can get another second helping of Northern Soul tonight on beatsradio.co.uk. Dave Matthews says, good morning, Ginge. Also, Maurice Hudson says, good morning, DJG, from a cloudy Blackpool. Oh, bless you. Delia Gutsy is watching. Shane Bowen is watching. Shane says, Gallimera Ginge, wishing you all a great week ahead. Thank you, Shane, and cheers for tuning in yesterday to the Northern Soul Show. You were in the chat room yesterday along with Zanti Pete and quite a few other people. Nice to have you joining in and enjoying the show. And also Julie Allen is saying, hi, Ginge. Right, that's it from me. A very short broadcast today. A lot going on, a lot happening. And I can't believe now, we get this feeling like we're running out of time. But one thing I will reiterate is this. If you want to start to zone Greece so that people can fly to the islands which are deemed safe, please go ahead and do so. But please do not do what they did to us last year, where basically people could fly in, but because of the activities of Mykonos and Santorini, who had very high viral loads because of the activities of Greek people going there on holiday from Athens, from Thessaloniki, not doing the social distancing, not doing as they're told, their viral loads went up. The knock-on effect was that Zakynthos got tarred with the same brush, and that's why we had all these extra measures placed upon us, which the likes of Kefalonia didn't have. And the reason was because we have a party part of our island. So please, if we're gonna go down the road of zoning the islands to get people to come here, please do not put us under the same restrictions that went on last year. Treat each island as an individual upon the rate of its infection, not as a broad brush. If you're a party island, we're going to hit you hard. We're going to lock you down at midnight or whatever you decide to do. Because again, that is a recipe for disaster, not only economically, but also, if you want to talk about it, also just in the way of the epidemiology side. But then again, on the other side, the counter argument to that, everybody here is supposed to be PCR tested or had the vaccine. Most people here working with the public, they're all going to be vaccinated or they're going to be testing like myself. So therefore, this shouldn't be an issue. But we will wait and see what the authorities abide by. We're still waiting to find out to see if the music ban is going to be lifted by the beginning of the month. Again, we are still not out of the woods yet. There is still a lot of clarity still to be revealed in this week. And this is a very important week because I can't believe we're almost to the end of May. And June is just days away. Let's see what rules are put in place and what, again, Boris is going to decide on the fate of us. Because, again, at the end of the day, if he says we're going amber, no change, unfortunately. If he says green, it's go, go, go. And obviously, we're going to want to make the best of the time that we have. Right, that's it from me. I hope you have a fantastic day today, wherever you are. I'll keep my ear to the ground. And if I hear anything, I'll make sure I let you know. Ta-ra.